This is things you might have heard coming from the Conversation Project, where we at the Conversation Project are your home for headline news, information, and pop culture references that are worth chatting about. Today, chatter going all over the place. We do have Trump adjacent stuff, some real Trump stuff, but it really starts off with the Jeffrey Epstein letter, which has been released, and glorious is not quite the word for it. Also, Rupert Murdoch's legacy has now been officially set, and Howard Stern has a hoax that has us all falling for it. Plus, five of the stories for this Tuesday, the 9th of September, 2025. We're going to get into the stories real quick, but real first, I'll remind you about our website home, which is this is a conversationproject.com. If you go to our home, you can see more about who we are, how we do things, some replays of things so you can get a better sense of what's going on, plus our origin story and links to sponsors and partnerships things as well. We want to spotlight today's sponsor being Ground News, one of the greatest sponsors we've had. They've been with us for quite some time, and we're glad to have them with us. They help us every day as we do our work here for the Conversation Project. Better news by getting all the news that you can actually see for yourself. Get a great deal on that by going to this conversationproject.com/ground news. You get 40% off their news plans. We get a small commission, and we all live better for it. Now, like we said, if you get a chance to help us pick these stories by engaging with us on our feeds on Facebook and X, you can find those links inside of the description of this video, and of course at our website. This is conversationproject.com. Let's get into it. We got to do this first. Now, this is going to be a trigger bit, so this is going to be a very heavy story off the bat. We want to get it done first because there's really no way around it. Going to Charlotte, where leaders are facing backlash after a man with a criminal past kills an Iranian woman on a train, happening on August 22nd. The video shows 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee Arana Yakutka being stabbed in a Charlotte Lynx blue line, and that is unprovoked from all appearances. Police have charged 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown Jr. with the crime, and it gets very, very complicated and uncomplicated at the same time here. So prior records, lots of convictions, a lot of documented mental health issues, identified criticisms over the issues, and of course, is currently homeless and needing treatment. Officials face questions about the transit safety because this happened, prior interventions with DeCarlos Brown, and of course, whether repeated red flags should is as the president is kicking in his thoughts on this, we'll get that in a second, is that Carolina is one of the least effective states when dealing with mental health issues in the criminal system, and funding from the federal government has been basically pulled back. This turned pretty critical with President Trump, though. Of course, he's targeting Dem City crime, and this is showing that while he needs to come into some places and take over, even though trending data shows that in many places these targets specifically, crime is down, especially in Charlotte and nationally in general. But this does not stopping the rhetoric. The case as a proxy fight for mental health policy, bail decisions, and cities' balance facilities and public safety on transit. It's a whole lot of complicated. At the same time, not very much. This is a person who obviously had some issues, and someone should have caught something beforehand. And now we are all living through this nightmare as it is. Meanwhile, the nightmares of Epstein continue for Donald Trump, where the lewd Epstein letter that was allegedly signed by Donald Trump has been surfaced online because the House Oversight Committee had it all along, had it in their capacity. They had a hold of it. The image from the birthday book, and all the images have been released online. One of the really disappointing aspects of it is the fact that the sketches that we've seen that they basically made up for TV, this because they had descriptions of it, are much better than the actual product that was there. So we have that to say. Meanwhile, Trump can say he can do all he can to complain about it because he says it's fake. He says he didn't do it. It's all a hoax. The alleged letter put in 2023, it was first described in July reporting. Text framed by a female outline in reference to a wonderful secret that they have. The team from Trump says that the authorship is not right. It's a partisan smear and points to ongoing multi-billion-dollar defamation lawsuit. on the coverage, suing Rupert Murdoch, his friend, for covering this story as something that seems to be actually real. The release of the letter adds new heat to the already charged election year coming up forward, and what we're looking to is oversight in fighting for scrutiny of past social ties with one Jeffrey Epstein, because everyone knows that Clinton and Trump had relations. We'll say it like that with Epstein. They had relations with them, and it should be a no go, a no bother, just go forward. For some reason, we're stuck on it. I'm not sure why. Newsrooms are actually treating this as purported. They're not saying it is the real thing yet. At least they didn't when the news report was had last night. But they're talking about it because from what we can see, we have an even cruder drawing than the crude drawing we had that was done used for the description of it over the summer. Meanwhile, something that Donald Trump is saying he's doing on purpose is Operation Midway Blitz, an ICE-led surge targeting undocumented immigrants in Chicago. An early reports cite that several street-level detentions have already happened. DHS is on the move for this one, but officials say the name is honoring a young Illinois woman who was killed by a suspected drunk driver who was undocumented. It frames the blitz as a public safety push. Now, this is not the National Guard moving into Chicago or Illinois. This is something Trump already has the ability to do, although it is the black vans and people with masks grabbing people off the street stuff and sort of asking random people, are you citizens? If you look Latino, you're being asked, where are your papers? It's what's happening. Illinois leaders and advocates are the critics who are calling this indiscriminate, noting that research shows that immigrations is not really the problem, and immigrants themselves actually consider less dangerous. They do less crimes than U.S. born residents. It's when one is caught or when something happens that it becomes a larger issue because people are people. Local organizations are saying that the sightings of unmarked vans and hotline calls of strange issues has been picked up with this one. And right now, arrests involving people who basically don't have criminal records to go for. Coverage of the four ICE large arrests and some protests across the city are happening. So you see them being documented. It's happening. It's definitely happening. So it's not just me. It's actually the younger generations who are getting into the deal on asking, why can't everyone have the early bird special? Because reservations and platform data are showing that early dining is up sharply. Open Table is showing bookings around 6 p.m. rising in 2025 so far. Yelp seeing more 4 to 6 p.m. seats. And here's what's going on: cost of living pressures, hybrid work, hybrid work situations, wellness, and sober, curious habits are favoring people eating around 5 to 6 o'clock for your dinner as opposed to later in the evening. Restaurants have to adapt to this, and they're doing early evening price fixed menus, dynamic pricing, and earlier closings in some markets because no one's staying out so late. Industry data is showing that peak demand is shifting to earlier for everyone, and Gen Z is moving the cause because if all the younger folks who can afford to go out to eat are eating earlier, you go with that. Traditional 8 p.m. dining is softening by a lot, and Gen Z is basically saying early bird trends for eating is no longer coded for retirees. It's no longer an old person thing. Gen Z are normalizing it and reshaping how service models are acting. It's less of a bar scene, more of a brunch scene, if you will. Quick pause from the news. Four more stories to get to you for this morning, 8 stories in total. But right now, we need to ask for your help. We do this every single morning with this one. A bit of a plea for your assistance. We're looking for you to help us out by sharing the word, getting this out there, showing the algorithms that we are worthy of what we're doing. So if you like what you see, click the like button on whatever platform you're doing because it helps the word platform. YouTube is our gold standard where we see things moving forward because YouTube is actually, we are paid via them. But if you're on X and Facebook, it helps as well because there's people who still need you on X, Facebook Plus. Those are where we have the actual discussions on the feed where we have people chime in on the stories, telling us that the story about dining for Gen Z is a big deal because you would have thought that might have got slipped through. It didn't because that's what you want to talk about in conversation. You can also share it with like-minded people so that hopefully they will like and share it as well. And if you are not getting this directly into your feeds, if you are getting this because you are have saw a like from the actual algorithms or a friend shared it to you, get it directly in your inbox and help us out. Subscribe to us on whatever platform it is that you love to because we need you on the platforms. YouTube is the gold standards where we're basically charging our actual numbers and seeing how our growth is. We need you on X and Facebook as well. Massachusetts General Hospital transplanted a gene-edited pig kidney into Bill Stewart, 45-year-old, in June. He's off dialysis and back home already. He's part of an eGenesis program using eGen 2784 organs. FDA has now cleared for a larger phase 1, 2, and 3 trial for 30 dialysis patients over the age of 50. New Hampshire's case has marks a continued momentum against or after January's transplant of a Concord patient named Tim Andrews. He remains off dialysis as well, very months later. Now, scientists say that the pig kidney trial could be a watershed for xenotrans transplantation, a word I actually almost got proper when I couldn't do the rest of the words in the story. But it's a big boon with 100,000 plus people on U.S. wait lists for kidney transplants. Regulators and hospitals will watch rejection protocols and infection risk closely as the first U.S. multi-center study is going to launch in this actual case. So this is good news and great news actually for geneticists and using things for our greater good, overcoming things. Some people see it's a little bit of a weirdness, but it's not a episode of Black Mirror. This is using our minds and God's ability to help us use our minds to do great things for us. It's not the TV show, but it's TVs that are shows on TV, something like that. But we do have a solution for Rupert Murdoch and his family with his media company, as the session is now set in place. New trust term secured that Lachlan Murdoch has control of Fox Corp, and his younger sisters will make it work. The direction of Fox News is expected to stay on course because Lachlan's more conservative and likes the way money comes in. The older siblings, Prudence, Elizabeth, and James, are going to get out of the claims for any part of the state. They don't want no part of it because what they're getting is stock valued around $3.3 billion. Nice work if you can get it. I guess. The agreement actually ends a bitter legal fight that basically echoed Succession, the TV show, and which was technically based off of, or loosely based off of, a media mogul with lots of power, who had a lot of people who were kind of scummy, fighting over who gets in charge of the TV network and the empire when he's gone. And he died early, so they actually had an end to Succession going forward. The trust will run until 2050 and limit future boardroom swings, locks in editorial strategic continuity, and makes sure that nothing will change. Everyone's going to be happy, or at least going to deal with it, and they'll count their money if they're not happy about it. Analysts see minimum short-term operational change, major political implications given Fox News' reach. Basically, Fox News will stay where it is as his platform and have the big dog platform of conservative media for quite some time. Australia's mushroom murderer Erin Patterson has been sentenced to life with a 33-year minimum. A judge in Victoria of Australia sentenced Erin Patterson to life for a 30-year non-parole period for killing 3 relatives with poisonous beef wellington in 2023. The court found she planned the meal and lied to investigators. The sentence is among the harshest a female murderer in Victoria has ever received. The victims include Dawn and Gail Patterson and Heather Wilkinson. Ian Wilkinson survived after a lengthy hospitalization, but Dawn, Gail, and Heather all perished from the actual, let's just call it, attack, the meal. Proceedings drew global attention. Cameras were allowed in the Supreme Court of Victoria for the first time ever for such a sentencing. 28 days to appeal the actual ruling. Coverage in Australia underscores the case lasting cultural shock as we are talking about it here as something that's so bizarre, so unthinkable, yet it happened. You cannot you could not conjure this up in a true crime sort of fantasy setting, but it's a true crime that will be covered for years to come because it actually happened. Finally, the tease payoff, and it's Andy Cohen to the rescue, or it's Howard Stern to the fault. As Andy Cohen helps Howard Stern play a prank, Stern's Howard 101 channel opened up with Andy Cohen saying, "Hey guys, like all I can say is welcome to Andy 101." And so for a few moments, Andy Cohen opened the show as if Andy Cohen was now in charge of the channel for right now because he has his own channels. basically making it like, when someone is sick and you have a last minute person taking over the seat. And it worked. It worked. A little while later, Stern came onto the air and said it was a hoax. It was all his idea. And it was basically a jab at his contract rumors, which apparently are still being worked out. But because everyone's wondering if Howard Stern is going to take this time away because he's done with Sirius XM radio, what we know is he's not quite done with Sirius XM radio yet, and we're not done with him apparently. And then had to speak to the cameras, telling the truth. Actually, a basic playbook Stern bit. It was not a takeover by Andy or SiriusXM. It was something to fuel the fast-moving media cycle that had to react to it because they fell for it. Many outlets were like, "Oh my God, Andy Cohen is taking over for Howard Stern. What's going to happen next?" Because this thing is what happens next. But it was basically just showing that Howard Stern may not be the king of all media like he was in the past, but he still commands attention when he wants to. Now, he emphasized that he's staying put at SiriusXM for now. That's the language he's using because he's 71 years old. He can't be there forever like Putin and Xi. But he's leveraging the moment to basically garner a little attention, get a little maybe some juice into his contract push, and see how things go. As far as we can tell, the contract is not signed yet, so he doesn't have a real deal for time on the books. But there's no reason for Howard Stern to go anywhere because he still has plenty of stick, plenty of pull, plenty of reason to be on the air, especially in times like these, because his words not quite as controversial as they were, not quite as salacious as they were, but still an important source of what's going on, and important to keep the sort of idea of a terrestrial radio, even if this is satellite radio, formatted radio alive. Thank you for being with us for the show today. We want to quickly go into a bit of a pitch for Ground News. Ground News is our spotlight sponsor, and they are with us all the way, all day, all night. Just like we're on the feeds every single day to give you um, stories for you to engage in. We are also checking Ground News to see what stories are being out there being described as more liberal, more conservative, more in between, and where they're going back and forth. Because sometimes the story just seems a little too off, a little too odd, a little too not there. So we go to Ground News to see who's covering it, how they're covering it, and what green coverage is going. What you'll get from Ground News is a good picture of what a news story actually is going forward. It'll tell you some sources there, it can be side by side headlines and side by side news pieces, and give you details on if the source is a bit more left or right. If Murdoch owns something, or if it's something owned by Comcast, which is crazy. You can see for yourself, and you can see in bigger detail if you use the blind spot feature of the case of Vantage Plan, which shows you exactly what stories are being overly played by which sources. You get 4% off the Vantage Plan and all the plans. Your news can be less than $1 a month for this service by using that link and getting us a small commission for bringing in the door. This is the conversationproject.com/ground news. This is the conversationproject.com/ground news will get you in for the great details. Ground News is a service that we actually had to go look out for. We heard other news sources were actually using them for affiliate stuff to be a part of it. We were using them before we joined the affiliate program, and now we are glad to be spreading the news, spreading the talk of Ground News. Check it out today. We get a small commission from you using it. But trust me, your news life gets better with Ground News. Today's Tuesday, September 9th, 2025. We are moving closer to the 24th anniversary of December 11th. We'll have a little special extra time to talk about that one with stories along with the news as well. But we also want to remind you that fall is here, the year is rolling quickly. Hopefully, you are doing well. If you're not doing well, reach out and let me know. Email me at conversationinbox@gmail.com. We can talk about news stories, talk about other things going on, talk about the way life and economy is going so we know we're trending things. I want to drop in 2 specific links for you guys to check out for other things to get into because it's not just about the Conversation Project, it's about the More Better Media in general. We used to do something that was a birthdays, a day in history, and a weird fact of the day. We're not doing weird fact anymore. We also have birthdays, deaths, and of course, 12 pieces of history for the day at a website called historyiseveryday.com. Historyiseveryday.com. Check it out. Get your history lesson and sign up for that newsletter in your inbox. 3:30 a.m. You get that drop in your inbox. Today, I want to hype another project we have going on because I'm a fantasy football nut, and this year I've got the tools. Other than having the co-host I want, I got the tools to really get the stats, get the numbers, get the storylines I want to. So today, because it's after Monday, we will record today the second episode, the week 2 episode of Tuesday Afternoon General Manager. Find it at tuesdayafternoongeneralmanager.com or online on YouTube. Search for Tuesday Afternoon General Manager. I think that's the short name for it. I have to go look for it again. I'm not sure if I actually set the short name, but it's essentially the stats. And yes, it's just another fantasy football kick, but it's got my flair, my flavor, and tells you a little bit about the inside of mine I have, because I give you a couple little picks to look to that might be a little different. That if you take those picks, maybe you'll win. Maybe you won't. You'll see. Stats will tell us what's going on because basically we're looking at how people are going. And after this first week of games, it was very apparent that you got to wait till Sunday and Monday, at least early on, because those last 4 quarterbacks made big differences in people's games, made big difference in the stats we're using, and the replies we're going to do for our actual rundown. So we'll get top stories and top players in various stats, plus some little quirky things that may help you go well at Tuesday afternoon, general manager. Oh, we're done. That's it. We're over. Love you. Beat it. Join us tomorrow. Consider being a sponsor. Consider being a partner, and follow the feeds. We got you.